We're not concerned about anyone else right now. It's Alex Eala time. This is Alex Eala's moment. Our days, our dinners, our evenings are fixated on when she's playing. That's real tennis fandom right there. Love it.
This is so great for tennis in general. Yeah. I think having players like Alex out there, and she's so gracious to all her fans. She spends time with her fans, signs the autographs, takes the photos, and really just shows the Filipino community that it is all about the Philippines. And I still carry that flag with me no matter where I go across the world. And such a young woman at that has that wisdom of just what it means to play for her country.
Only 20 years old, such maturity, already a hero to her entire nation. I mean, it's basically Manny Pacquiao and Alex Eala, right?
So here's what just went down in the tennis world. Alex Eala just smashed through a barrier that nobody from the Philippines has ever broken before, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect. She scraped through a battle that could have ended everything at Indian Wells, somehow pulled it off anyway, and then boom. She opens her eyes the next day sitting higher in the rankings than any point in her entire tennis journey. The entire sport is suddenly watching very closely. Where do you see Alex Eala's ranking landing by the time 2026 wraps up? Are we talking top 20, top 10, or does she go even further? Let me know what you think in the comments. Here's the reality check. Alex Eala is now sitting at world number 28 on the WTA live rankings. That's her personal best. That's a spot no Filipino tennis player has ever touched before her. And the way she got there was by grinding out a win at Indian Wells that should have gone the other way, based on how everything unfolded, then walking into the press room afterward like nothing unusual had happened.
Yastremska left herself exposed when she came forward. It's a golden opportunity missed, believe it, after working so hard to get the break. She's been broken right back. Oh. Couldn't have placed it better. The noise is deafening inside Stadium 3. One of the best. But there's just too many errors in her game. Too many double faults. 8 in this set alone. 15 for the match. And it hands Alex Eala a 4th match point. It's Eala's night, and the Filipina wins a blockbuster close to midnight in Indian Wells. Look at the great respect between these two. This was a sensational match. Diana Yastremska more than played her part. Lovely respect between the two, but it's Alex Eala who thrives in these matches. She thrives in these kinds of atmospheres, and she's done it again. 7-5, 4-6, 7-5. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And if not the match of the tournament so far, it's certainly a big contender, and it's going to be hard to beat. I think the support in the end got her over the line, but you've got to feel for Diana Yastremska.
This wasn't some easy victory where everything clicked from the start. The battle against Diana Yastremska went 75, 46, 75, and it was exactly as messy as that scoreline suggests. This was pure chaos across 3 sets with momentum flying back and forth, and there was this moment in the deciding set where Yastremska had seized control and looked completely ready to shut the door. That's when Eala did what she's been doing all season. She discovered something extra when it seemed like she had nothing left in the tank, unleashed some absolutely fearless shot-making when it mattered most, and flipped the entire script. That victory launched her from her official number 32 spot straight up to 28 on the live rankings. And before anyone has time to fully process what just happened, her next assignment is already locked in. Coco Gauff in the round of 32. That's right, world number 4, Coco Gauff, at Indian Wells on U.S. territory, with Gauff's home supporters filling every seat, barely 3 weeks after Gauff dismantled her 6-0 6-2 in Dubai. The tennis gods clearly have a twisted sense of timing when it comes to Alex Eala's journey. But let's pause here, because this ranking breakthrough deserves its own spotlight, before we dive into what's waiting around the corner. World number 28? In women's professional tennis, on the WTA circuit, in a sport that spans every continent and has created icons from countless nations, and features one of the most ruthlessly competitive professional tours in all of athletics. To be positioned at number 28 in that landscape, at just 20 years old, representing the Philippines, this isn't something you acknowledge with a quick nod before moving on to other topics. This is genuinely making history. Everyone who's been tracking Eala since her junior breakthrough, since she was collecting junior Grand Slam hardware and making people take notice on the development tour, they've been waiting for this kind of momentum to translate to the senior level. And now it's happening. Undeniably, with real rankings backed by legitimate victories against legitimate professional competition on legitimate professional courts. The number is official. Nobody can argue with it. And how she climbed here tells an even better story than the ranking itself, because Eala hasn't built this position by picking apart weaker players at smaller events. She's been stepping onto the biggest stages against opponents who can beat absolutely anyone when they're playing their best tennis. And she's been discovering ways to win when everything gets complicated. That's been the defining theme of her 2026 campaign so far. Look at what this season has delivered for her. She's competing at WTA Tour-level events against established professionals. She's advancing to rounds that put her directly across the net from the sport's biggest stars. She's creating the kind of fan energy that tournament organizers actually notice, because supporters follow her from tournament to tournament and pack venues with an atmosphere that becomes part of the competition itself. And she's accomplishing all of this while still developing, still identifying the areas of her game that need work, still learning how to handle the physical and mental grind of a complete professional season. The raw ability was never in doubt. The raw ability has been obvious since she was a teenager. The real question was always about consistency, about whether she could reproduce what she accomplished in junior tennis at the senior level, match after match against players who are physically stronger, more experienced, and competing for their careers. That question is getting answered right now in real time, and the answer keeps looking more and more like absolutely. Now let's break down what number 28 actually represents in the WTA Tour ecosystem. The top 32 players globally get automatic entry into the main draws of Grand Slam events. At number 28, Eala is safely within that bracket. That means no qualifying rounds, no grinding through preliminary matches just to reach the main tournament. She walks directly into the draw at the sport's most important events. That's a major advantage, both practically and psychologically. Players who have to qualify know they've already burned through multiple matches before the main draw even begins. Players with direct entry get to save energy, focus specifically on their opening round matchup, and show up at tournaments without the extra stress of qualification. At number 28, Eala has earned the right to prepare the way elite players prepare. That's not insignificant. That transforms how you plan your season, how you manage your physical condition, and how you approach each tournament knowing you've already secured your spot. And if she keeps winning at Indian Wells, if she can get past Gao and continue this run, that number keeps climbing. The live rankings adjust immediately based on points accumulated, which means every victory adds to her total and drives her higher up the ladder. A deep run to the quarterfinals or semifinals at a Masters 1000 event like Indian Wells would generate massive points and could launch her into the top 20 for the first time ever. Top 20 in the world. That phrase deserves a moment to sink in, because 2 years ago, the discussion was whether Eala could establish herself anywhere in the top 100 on the senior tour. 1 year ago, people were wondering if she could crack the top 50 and maintain that level. And now the top 20 is a realistic, achievable, mathematically possible outcome that could happen during this exact tournament. The speed of this climb is almost ridiculous when you map it out, and yet here we are. Let's talk about the obvious challenge, which is that Eala's prize for beating Yastremska is a date with the player who beat her most recently and most decisively. Coco Gauff at Indian Wells is precisely the type of test that measures everything a player has constructed. Gauff isn't just world number 4. She's competing on home soil in California, where the crowd will be massively in her corner. That crowd dynamic creates an environment that's genuinely challenging to navigate when you're the away player. The energy of thousands of people pushing every point toward your opponent is a real factor that affects how matches feel, how pressure accumulates, and how minor mistakes snowball into lost sets. Eala recognized all of this in her post-match press conference after the Yastremska victory. She said the match will be brutal. She said she expects massive crowd support for Goff. She said she'll need to dig even deeper than she did against Yastremska. And then she said she's excited and ready, which is either the most confident response a player can give after surviving match point, or a perfectly crafted answer that hides the real amount of mental work happening behind the scenes. Probably both. The Dubai result, that 6-0, 6-2 beatdown, is the statistic that doubters keep referencing when they want to slow down the hype train, and honestly, they have a point. That scoreline shows a version of Coco Gauff that was operating at a level where Eala simply couldn't find solutions. The power, the precision, the tempo, everything was too much that day. You can't sugarcoat a 6-0, 6-2 defeat. It was a dominant display from Gauff and a harsh lesson from Eala's perspective. But here's what the doubters conveniently ignore. Eala played that match at a lower ranking at an earlier point in her 2026 season, before this series of victories that have now elevated her to a career high. The player stepping onto the court at Indian Wells is not the same player who left the court in Dubai. She's gained more competitive experience, she's built more confidence from surviving pressure situations, she's acquired specific intel about what Gauff brings and what tactical changes need to happen. Whether those changes are sufficient to flip the result remains to be seen. But the variables entering this match are different from the variables that shape Dubai, and that counts for something. Also interesting to note, Eala and Gauff have history beyond their head-to-head singles record. They were doubles partners at some stage in their development. That means Eala has observed Gauff closely in a team setting, has studied how she moves and thinks and processes situations. That kind of inside knowledge doesn't automatically guarantee a singles victory, but it's valuable information. Understanding your opponent as both a competitor and a person provides insights that you can't get just from watching match footage. The bigger story for Eala in 2026 is something the Philippine sports world has been anticipating with growing excitement. Tennis is a global sport with an entrenched power structure, and breaking into the elite level of that structure as a player from the Philippines without the infrastructure, the coaching networks, and the track record that players from the United States, Russia, Czech Republic, or Australia benefit from is significantly more difficult than it appears. The investment that goes into creating a top 30 player in those tennis powerhouses is staggering. The training systems, the academies, the talent identification programs, the financial backing, all of it builds over years and produces players who enter the senior tour already seasoned and well supported. Eala reached this point through pure talent, through relentless work ethic, and through a mental strength that's been evident since she was capturing junior championships and forcing people to pay attention at a very young age. She represents an entire nation's dreams every time she steps between the lines, and the supporter base that follows her journey and celebrates on social media after every victory and every defeat reflects what she means to Filipino athletics. Number 28 in the world isn't just a ranking, it's a declaration about what's achievable. It's evidence that the upward trajectory was legitimate, that the junior achievements were a foundation and not a peak, and that the senior tour is exactly where Eala was meant to compete. The skeptics who wondered if she could succeed at this level, whether the junior credentials would carry over, whether she possessed what's required to battle the world's best players week after week, they're looking at the ranking updates right now, and the ranking updates keep saying the same thing with each match. She belongs here, she's ascending, and she's nowhere near finished. Indian Wells is still ongoing, the Gauff showdown is approaching, the atmosphere will be electric, the opposition will be world-class, and the stakes will be enormous, but a player who fights back from match point in the third set and then tells reporters she's looking forward to the next challenge has a certain inner fire that rankings can't fully measure. Number 28 is her position today. The real question is where her ceiling actually sits. And right now, nobody has a definitive answer to that question, which, if you've been following this journey from the start, is exactly where you always wanted this story to go. That's the complete breakdown of Eala hitting number 28 in the world and what it signals for her future. If this has you pumped for what's next at Indian Wells, smash that like button and tell me your ranking prediction in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make that happen. More Eala coverage is dropping throughout the entire tournament,